Hello to all YouTube visitors. This is an interview with two old friends. This is Manfred, my name is Jörg. Manfred, we know each other since 40 years. We come from the same suburb here. In Mannheim we attended the same school, same high school. Then you studied, I studied. In the meantime you're a software engineer, I'm a high school teacher. From time to time we meet each other and well, you have experience in the Arab world. What brings you to what links you to the Arab world, or especially to Syria and Damascus?
Like so many people after the Iraq war and even before the Iraq war, I try to understand what's going on in this country. So this was the basic reason why I tried to learn Arabic. Before I went to Damascus for the first time, there was a meeting in preparation of a journey. Classic philologist going to Syria to visit the archaeological sites and Christian heritage. Part in this meeting and saw pictures from Syria, and they were incredible, and I really liked this stuff. And I went home and told my wife I would like to go to Syria also. And since I had some experience in Arabic language, I went to Syria. It was in April of 2007 for the first time, and we stayed there for about 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And the next time, to improve my language skills, I went for about 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks to Cairo, and afterwards for 6 or 7 weeks to Damascus in 2009. Again. And then I went to Damascus in the beginning of this year, in April of 2012, to get a better understanding of what's going on in Syria right now.
Mm-hmm. Manfred, let's talk about your first impression of the country, of what you see and what you can't explain. Just your feeling, your impression of Damascus in 2007.
The real first impression, it's a good question. The moment you asked, I thought about. We arrived in the middle of the night at the airport. And we got a driver who took us into the town, and for the first day we had a hotel, but we didn't know exactly where this hotel was located. But the driver, he tried everything he could. He asked a lot of people, and it took a long time. I think it took us about an hour. We drove to really deserted parts of Damascus, of the old town, and it was, many shops. Like, there was a lot of destruction because it's really old and they have no money, so they cannot support it, and this was really interesting to see. At the end we got to the hotel, and actually I tried to give a tip to the driver, and he didn't want it. Absolutely no. It's an honor for us to do our work, and we don't take tips.
Not bad.
All the time. It was really friendly people, helpful people, and they...
It's just the contrary we learn about stereotypes about Arabs.
Maybe, but I think it's a totally different topic, but just to mention it, there are always different pictures you get. Mm-hmm. It depends on where you are, and it depends on how you travel and whom you meet, and mm-hmm. So there's more than just one picture in Syria and in Egypt also. There are many pictures. Yeah. There is a lot of corruption also. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think the people, the group that wants to keep, of course not the corruption and all that and the repression, but to keep the safety, security and stability.
Or is it just the support from China, the Soviets?
No. No, definitely not. All the people we met belong to this group. Mm-hmm. And we really met people from absolutely different walks of life, and mm-hmm. all of them told us, no, we want it in this society. We want it better, we want improvements. We don't want the overthrow and the Sunni extremists. And we don't want the bombs of NATO. So but the problem is to have a big group which want to topple the regime, and you have a big group which wants to keep the regime. And I think the group maybe it is about the same size, and in between there is the silent majority. I mean, which way will they go? They wouldn't like bombing their homes, of course. But to go back, yes, it's been always the same friendly people, open-minded, interested. They wanted to meet foreigners and they wanted to talk as far as they could. I mean, many, of course, understand English, and if they could help, they helped us. I spoke at that time a little bit Arabic, so it was fine. And one thing I always will remember, we went to Bosra in the south, actually very, very near to Deraa. It's in the same government. And in Bosra, we got lost. Our bus left early and we didn't know. And so we really got lost in the evening. There was no bus to come and we didn't know how to get along. But then there was a guy who felt sort of responsibility and who wanted to help us. And he organized, I only can call it a flying carpet. So with this flying carpet, we've been back into Damascus very early and long before our bus would have reached Damascus. It was really, really fine. One day in 2009, there was an event in Damascus. It was really interesting one. It was a mixture of political cabaret music and some religion music also. It was a show organized by, actually I don't know the name, by the son of Fairuz. Fairuz is a very famous singer in these countries, and her son is a musician and he wrote some songs for his mother. And he made this show, he organized it. And when I was in Damascus in 2009, I went out for such events with a friend from Switzerland. And I met her at the place where this event would happen. It was in the color of Damascus, in the castle of Damascus. And we had no tickets because we learned about it only late. But this was no problem. She met a young guy, Syrian guy, and just asked him, could you please help us? We would like to go to this event and have no tickets. And he said, no problem, of course, just give me the money. So we gave him a lot of money, 2,000 Syrian lira.
Which is about?
I mean, in German money it's not that much, it's about, I think, 50 or so, I don't know. But in Syria it's a lot of money. And he took the money and vanished. And after 5 minutes he came back with the tickets, of course. He gave us the tickets, said thank you, goodbye, and that was it.
If you had to choose an attribute, backward or modern, what would it be in Syria? Is it more backward country, like 1001 Night, or is it a modern country like let's say Turkey?
I mean, Turkey is modern in part and not so modern in another part. I was in Istanbul and it's very modern in the most part of it. And
can you compare Istanbul with Damascus? In some aspects.
In some aspects you may compare it, the buildings even, and maybe you can compare it, but Damascus is, in many ways it's different. It's a town of its own, and Syrian towns are different. You have some towns in the desert, you have some towns like Damascus, which has been an oasis in the past time, and you have like Homs, which is more it's called maybe like a garden, and so it's totally different. And Damascus and Aleppo is more like Oriental, and Damascus is more like Western. So you have different towns and different people, and this is one of the reasons why whenever you talk to people about the current events in Syria, there are people like me who tell you most of the people or many people are with Assad and don't want this turmoil. And then you meet another one and it says everybody is against Assad. So it depends a bit on where you are and whom you meet. And if you are in one of the small towns, maybe there's more resentment, more people which are against the system. In the big towns like Damascus and Aleppo, there may be more people who are with the system.
Communities in Syria are defined by their religions. Could you tell us something about the religious groups, minority-wise, in Syria?
Yeah, well, shortly I will get to the religions, but you talked about communities in Syria. That's a very interesting point, because when we read about demonstrations and shootings and all that, actually we don't know that much about the Syrian society. There are communities that we don't find in Germany, for example, not in the same way. There are communities like the Bedouins in some parts of Syria, and they have different loyalties than people in the city, which live more, in many cases, more for them, not in these big kind of communities. And this is the same in Jordan also. So there are communities, types of communities that we are not used to.
Tribal communities.
Yes, sure. The other kind of communities, you are talking about the religious ones. Yes, this is the main difference between the events in Egypt and in Syria. In Egypt, most of the people are Sunni Muslims, and that's it. In Syria, most of the people are Sunni Muslims, but we have big minorities which altogether account for about 30% of the inhabitants. And the main point is there is a part of the Sunni Muslims which really hate the Alawites. Not because they govern the country, but because they are Alawites. They think they are, I don't know.
Heretic.
Heretic, exactly. They think they are heretic. And they don't hate Assad because he is a dictator, but because he is heretic. They want to kill them because they are heretics. And this is really a big problem in this country. And this, if there ever will be a real civil war, then it is a civil war between two religious groups, and this is really dangerous. So in Damascus, for example, there is the Christian quarter, which is around Batuma, which is a part of the city, and part of this area is the previous Jewish quarter. So I visited an artist in Damascus. He's living in a house which maybe 50 years ago belonged to a Jewish community, Jewish family. And then, of course, and many people don't know, that also there are still some Christians which go back to the time when the Christian religion was founded. They're speaking the same language also.
Aramaic?
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yes. In Malula, it's near to Damascus. So this country has a rich history and rich cultures, of course, and we try to destroy it, in my opinion. The minorities, Christians and Alawites, they account for about 30% of the people, and not only the Alawites are targeted by some Sunni extremists, but the Christians also. You can read about it in the news that come from the Vatican.